Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Cleveland, how we doing? Happy New Year. Welcome to today's Block the Shot to Stop. With these West Coast road trips, we like to call these episodes Coffee and Cavs because we're old. And so staying up till 12 p.m. on New Year's Eve night, 12 a.m. on New Year's Eve night to do a podcast on a basketball game is not really in our specialty anymore. But
back-to-back.
Right. But we are going to celebrate a great win. The Cavs take care of business, 122-110 over the Lakers. I'm Tim Daniel. Joining me today is Skylar Webker. Skylar, how was your New Year's Eve, man?
Quiet. I feel like when you have young kids, New Year's Eve is a quiet event compared to in your 20s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How about yours?
It was good. The only thing that wasn't quiet is my neighborhood's obsessed with fireworks. Don't know why. Doesn't matter when. They're going to shoot them off. And so my dogs are very much not fans of fireworks. And so when it's like 12:30 at night and you're like, all right, cool. I watched the ball drop. I watched the game, settling in the bed. And all of a sudden, you're like, okay. All right. But we got through it. So it was good, man. I watched the Cavs game, watched the Penn State Boise State game on the side as well. That was one of those games that was kind of fun. Obviously got a big game today. I'm very excited about. So we're going to have a lot of fun convo today about our Cleveland Cavaliers, how they wrapped up the calendar year of 2024. So let's go ahead and get to last night. The nice big win over the Lakers, 122-110 to keep their second lengthy winning streak going now at 8 games. 8 or 7. Do I have that right?
8.
Thank you. So Scott, it's another game where I'll say this. I think if you're the Lakers and you see what they're getting out of Allen and Mobley, I think you look at Anthony Davis and say, like, we can do that same thing. We can put him at the 4, put a good 5 next to him who can help out with the block, with the rebounding and rim protecting. And I mean, really, that's how they won the title in 20. It was like they had the JaVale McGee's and the Dwight Howards next to him. Jarrett Allen, obviously, significantly better than where those guys were at. And so that kind of makes a big difference. But if you're on that side watching what the Cavs just did, that probably has something going in your head of like, we can do that. We can go get a guy to put next to him. Granted, there's not a lot of Jarrett Allens laying around that they can just get but
you have big athletic bigs that can get up and down the court.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I think they could replicate what the Cavs are doing. I don't know if that's really what JJ Redick has in his scheme. I think he wants to get them closer to what they were doing at the start of the season when they were off to their hot start. And Anthony Davis was kind of in that MVP candidate or playing like an MVP candidate.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be. But I think that they're kind of, I don't know. I think they're not too far away from being good again. And I know I shouldn't say that, but watching them last night and kind of seeing, I think the pieces they got in the trade.
Dorian Finney-Smith was great.
Yeah, he was. I think Shake Milton's going to be a really nice kid for them. I think he's going to be a really good player for them. So I obviously the LeBron interest in them, I'm always going to kind of keep an eye on. I want to see him have success as long as it's not against the Cavs, obviously. And it was not this year, as for just the second time into his tenure of not being a Cleveland Cavalier in his NBA career, he was swept by the Cavs. First time was the 21-22 season, the Russell Westbrook year in Cleveland. I mean, in LA, that no one was.
I was going to say, not in Cleveland.
No, not at all. But another win on this lengthy road trip that we were all circled to say kind of this is going to tell us who they are. And we know who they are, right? We know how good this team is. We know the talent level. And what they're doing right now is unreal.
Absolutely. listen to Brian Windhorst radio interviews when he goes on to radio of Cleveland ESPN radio or stuff like that. And he had a good point of this team feels like the right team to push all the chips in this year to get them to, a title this year, but also, we draw comparisons to that, 2015, 16 Warriors teams. There was a good thread on X about, in 2015, nobody thought the Warriors were good enough to win the title. They didn't have the playoff experience. They didn't have the right pieces, but they did it because they play unselfish basketball. They were really good. First year coach, kind
taking over a team that really kind of, for sure.
Yeah, all these similarities that we're drawing to this Cavs team. So I said it, before, like we're probably way too early in the season, but I'm really, really feeling it that if they win this year, they legitimately have a shot to be a dynasty team.
I don't think you're wrong. I think realistically, sorry, I was sharing the link for anyone who wanted to hang out with us.
No worries.
I really do think that they have that possibility as far as all these guys' age groups, how long their contracts are. They are going to be an apron team next year, so they are going to have to be smart with some of the decisions they make personnel-wise, which means some of you guys you really love on this team may not be here next year, and that's okay. I mean, we all love Matthew Dellavedova. He left right after the title in 16. So, but that's down the road. That's what, Tom says right here, and that's kind of the point I'm getting to. CBA will make dynasty harder. 1,000% agree, because they don't want Kevin Durant joining 73-9 teams. So, happy New Year to you as well, Tom. Thanks for hanging out this afternoon. So looking at this game, big picture, if you go quarter by quarter, it was a 12-point win for the Cavs, but every quarter was relatively close as far as in the score. What really, really impressed me the most about this game before we get to individual players is that the Lakers made a lot of runs. Like Cleveland would get to a decent lead quite a few times during the game. Los Angeles would come back and get back in the game, force Kenny to take a timeout. They would regroup so well in those timeouts and take back over the game and be dominant. I think when you look at a game like this, where they just played the night before in Golden State, they had to hop on a plane late and get to Los Angeles. I know the flight from San Francisco to LA is not necessarily Cincinnati to Honolulu by any means. But still, I mean, you got to go through all that. And there was no one that sat out last night that played the night before. So that was huge as well. And you're going into a team that has a lot of new energy after a trade they just made. They got a little extra pep in their step. And no, you weren't dominant, but some players were dominant. But you still managed at any time they had a shot to get in there and take over the game, you stopped them. And I think that is what's most impressive about last night's game.
I would agree. Finney Smith looked great for LA. He was actually the only one on the team last night that had a positive plus minus. So, you're right. They're energized about new talent that they're getting in. They're energized that their front office is trying to make their team better for good reason. But being able to go there in the tail end now of this long road trip, still steal a victory, still regroup, still keep everybody's minutes down. It feels like the Cavs are playing chess and everyone else is playing hopscotch.
I like that. That's really funny. So, like, one of the things that really kind of jumps out too on that side is the fact they won this game, and Austin Reeves is a rebound away from a triple double. Anthony Davis, 28 and 13. LeBron, 23, 4 and 7. It was almost to the sense of just let those guys do what they do, and we'll take care of everybody else. And that's what they did. I mean, after those guys, the leading scorer was Rui with 7, and he had 5. Max Christie had 5. And these guys didn't play a lot of minutes either. AD obviously played his typical 37. Austin Reeves played 38. LeBron only played 34. But I think Cleveland did just such a good job of just kind of like, look, we know who those guys are. They're going to do what they do. We'll take care of our business on the other side. And they did just that, man. So Garland, double-double, 14 and 14 last night. Huge. We had another bet, by the way, for that. Donovan Mitchell, 26, 4 and 4. Jarrett Allen's the whole conversation for the show. So we're gonna get to that quite a bit. Mobley 20-6. I thought he was super good last night, bouncing back from not having his best offensive night in Golden State, but didn't really have to, like we talked about yesterday. But let's talk about Max Strus. Finally,
Strus is back.
Getting his feet underneath him and getting comfortable playing games again, and looked really, really good. Not just offensively, had a lot of really nice defensive moments, and not just shooting wise too on the offensive side. So really, really good passing. Blocked a couple shots. Hit Mitchell and him had a really nice chemistry last night where they were finding each other for open threes, which the Cavs have done great all season. But it looks like Max is finally getting into the into game rhythm, and last night was an awesome, awesome first step.
Sorry, my internet just blipped. Yes, Max Strus is looking great. He's looking exactly what we needed from him. And we knew it was going to take some time to get back from an injury, especially when he missed 30 games. So that was one thing that I saw last night. Towards that second half of the game, we had the starting five out there. It was Evan Mobley, J.A., Max Strus, Donovan, and Darius. And it looked great. I mean, the ball movement between all of them, the just tenacity. This is a very, very potent and dangerous Cavs team. And I said it last night or yesterday when we went on, like, this Cavs team is unbeatable when Max Strus gets his legs back under him.
Yeah, so Tom mentions it here. Merrill's injured. Strus steps right in, takes over for the spot. It's a deep team, absolutely a deep team. So it's great to see. Do you think it has to do with the fact that he has taken over Ricky Rubio's hairstyle? Might be why
he has to grow that full beard though.
Yeah, that's true. He does. Side note on hairstyles: did you see that clip of Kyle Korver wishing LeBron a happy 40th birthday? He for sure, Kyle Korver has I need to speak to your manager hair going. So it's
I have not seen Kyle Korver's hair. I've not seen him. I really haven't seen anything of him since he retired and did his retirement speech or graduation speech at Creighton.
Oh yeah. So he's for sure got some I need to speak to the manager hair going. I'll send you the clip later. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So, but Max was great. That was really nice to see. And then, you're almost like the Mitchell performances are just what you expect at this point now. And it's kind of silly to say that you could just expect this guy to get 26 and 4 and 4 less in most games. But the 46% from three, he's 6 of 13 last night, stretching the floor. He has just become the guy. And when Kevin and I have talked about this quite a bit in the sense of the conversation about him not being in the MVP conversation, strictly because the guys who are top of that right now, like the Giannis's, the Jokic's, their teams are begging for those guys to kind of help them make them win games, where Mitchell's kind of in the sense that his team's a little bit more balanced. Mitchell needs to be in the conversation. It's not 7th or 8th either. He needs to be up there with, I'm not saying he's the winner. I'm not saying he's the top guy, but with the Jokic's, with the Giannis's, with the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders, with what he's doing, being the best player on the best team, he needs to be in the conversation. Tom, I do like that reference a lot, actually.
All right, I switched my backup network because it's going in and out. But yeah, it feels weird to discredit a guy just because he's got good teammates.
Yeah,
it feels insane. Which I feel like that's kind of a recency bias. Because Steph definitely won MVPs with Hall of Famers on his teammates. LeBron has won MVPs with Hall of Famer teammates. So it feels silly that this recency bias that your team needs to be absolutely terrible whenever you're not on the floor. I don't know. To me, I don't know if he is the MVP. I think he deserves to be in the conversation.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But I think you could put any of these guys in there. You could put Evan Mobley in there. I don't know.
If Evan Mobley is not most improved player, then they should not have the award.
You don't think he's just going to go to Wemby?
No, it is, which is crap. But nothing against Wemby. Wemby's awesome, but Wemby's in his second year. Like, he's supposed to take a leap. Mobley's in his fourth or fifth and has become significantly better offensively. And a lot of that is the coaching, but who cares? That's why they hired Kenny Atkinson, to unlock these additional talent levels that Evan Mobley has. So that's what really kind of frustrates me about it is, I mean, as far as the All-Star game goes, and we're going to get to that, I'm sure, throughout the next couple of weeks as what the voting being out. I think Mobley, Mitchell, and Garland are for sures. I think Allen's teetering, but Allen should be in there. And not just after last night, which don't get me wrong, we're going to do a lengthy conversation on his performance last night, so don't think we are avoiding it. But those four have to be in there. And so going back to Mitchell, how little minutes he's playing, how nice his stats look with those minutes, how good his team is. That all sounds like an MVP to me, but I digress. So Mobley, again, really great game. Thought it was really terrific. But the stars of the game are two different. Are the other two are the core four. And let's start with Darius. 14 and 14 last night. Had a great shooting night the night before. Was really, really good in Golden State. And last night, this is what we talked about with Darius that I really like is last night was not his best shooting night. But you know what he did? He facilitated, ran the offense so well. I mean, that's how he took over the game, was passing the ball. And the Cavs all year have been a great passing team. They've always found the open man. They've always made the additional pass. But he was so good last night at just finding guys. And I talked about it yesterday after the Golden State game episode we did, where I love his ability to just drive into the paint and drop it to the dunker spot. I think he might be the best in the league at that right now. But he did a lot of that last night, and it was a lot of just finding Max in the corner, finding Donovan in the corner, finding Mobley. He was just so good as a playmaker last night.
Yeah, the chemistry between him and Jarrett Allen last night was unbelievable. I mean, those two guys alone were cutting up the Lakers. Yeah, there was one play where Garland had the ball coming up court, passed it to Jarrett Allen for a pick and screen, or passed it off, blew past his defender. Jarrett Allen passed it back to Garland. Garland got collapsed on in the dunker circle, fed it right back to Jarrett Allen, layup. I mean, just the ball movement, just those two guys alone caused a swarm to. I mean, Jarrett Allen got the benefit of the easy layup, but that ball could have gone anywhere because everybody was open because those two alone collapsed the defense. Just incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. The fact that he's in that spot now where he's in that upper echelon of point guards, where it's the sense of, I don't need to score to beat you. And I mean, he still had 14 points. That's not like he didn't do his own thing in the scoring side of things, but there's just the fact that he's all right, my shot's not falling tonight. I know what else I can do to get my team to win. And I think he took him a little bit to find that in his NBA career. And a lot of that was the first couple of years he didn't play on very good teams. That you expect that. But since they've had this playoff run, he's grown more and more and more. Obviously last year we talked about the injuries a lot. So you can see this comfortability is back. I really think when I look at the point guard rankings, and that's a whole conversation for another time, he's probably not up there with Shea, which is fine. He's probably not up there with Steph, which is fine. But would I put him in the conversation with guys like Jalen Brunson and Dame Lillard? I'm willing to have that conversation the way this season's going for him. I might be way over my head there, and there's some people who are going to disagree with me, but if you're watching this team on a night-to-night basis, what he's doing for them, he's for sure one of those guys.
I would put him up there with Steph this year, in the sense of Steph has had a kind of, we talked about it last time, a lot of up and down games, where Garland seems to be very consistent every game throughout this season. Probably not with Shea. Shay's
Shea.
He's the engine that's making the Thunder roll. But you remember when they did the point guard rankings and Darius Garland was dead last?
Yeah.
Dead last in all the point guards in the league. They ranked him dead last. How silly does that look now?
Well, the year before when they draft Sexton, do you remember there was stuff coming out that players were legitimately saying they didn't think he could play in the NBA? They didn't think he was an NBA player. And
Yeah,
so,
I remember that.
yeah, it was those two got off to a goofy start, but by the end of it, before the Mitchell trade, I think they found like a good camaraderie. They're obviously significantly better now because of the trade. But yeah, I think the Cavs' ability to develop talent that they bring in is immensely underrated. I know he didn't have the best game last night, but they've made Dean Wade an NBA player.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier this season that they are good in their just player development in general, but they're really good at finding these undrafted guys.
Yes.
And like Dean Wade, Craig Porter. I know they didn't find Max Strus, but another guy. Even the guys that we have on two-way, Travers. I mean, Travers looks like he could play tomorrow. He is crushing it in the G League. JT Thor, even Jalen Tyson, who hasn't got a lot of minutes, but he has looked like probably maybe next to Kincaid, one of the best draft picks of his class. Mainly because the class is pretty weak. But you know, that's one piece that Windhorst brought up is, you know, you could use that as an asset because it's basically like another first round pick.
Yeah.
So pair that with the 2020 or 2031 first round pick. You know, so you basically have 2 first round picks to give. And then he used Karis LeVert just because LeVert is on the expiring contract.
Yeah, I don't like moving on from LeVert, but I get
Neither
it.
do I.
Yeah, it's kind of the conversation we had about if you're gonna add. I don't want to add guys without having to give up too many guys. Unless of course it's like Giannis, then like sure, like actually no, because you'd have to give up Mobley Giannis, and I don't want that.
I don't want that.
Yeah, so, but there's a lot to kind of look into there, and so we've got plenty of time. We're gonna break through all that stuff. Let's talk about Jarrett Allen because
I know we keep going on these tangents. We gotta get to the guy.
He's the star of the game. I mean, he's awesome. And I think what I really, really like the most is, so normally since we're doing the show right after the games, we don't get to watch the post-game show right away.
Mm-hmm.
So last night when he's talking to Serena Winters and the team is like behind him, like celebrating him, was awesome. And he was so funny in his conversation with her. Just like, she was like, you know, you played LeBron. It's his first game since he turned 40. He's like, you know, it takes a team effort. He's like, that guy's a legend. He's been in the league so long. And he's also talking about how he's not where he's at without his team giving him opportunity. And all that's true, but he was awesome. And it's not just like, it's a 27-14, 3 blocks. Obviously, that's what he's going to look good. The way he was getting 27-14 and 3 blocks was really what jumped out. There's the dunk on LeBron. That was sweet.
That was awesome.
Yeah. There was obviously just kind of like the you know, you mentioned the pick and roll and the chemistry, the dunker spot with Garland. But for a guy who has kind of been up and down offensively with this team, kind of just having these 3 other dudes who can just kind of take over games. I think having these games periodically for him is completely okay. Sure, we want to see more of them, but just having these games where he's like, look, I'm still that dude was pretty awesome. And I think last night he just kind of, it was definitely his best game of the season, which he's had a lot of great games, but he was just tremendous, man.
Yeah, it's great to see him perform so well against other top tier centers in the league.
Yes.
So like he played really good against Jokic. He played really good against Anthony Davis, both this game and the last game. It's just so good to see him like step up when there's a premium center on the other side of the floor.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, I agree that we want to see more of them, but even just like his shooting, 12 for 14. How's that for your field goal percentage? Holy cow.
Doing what a center needs to do, for sure. Tom says here, Jarrett highlights gliding legacy. He does kind of look like Artist Gilmore, doesn't he? He just kind of got that Artist Gilmore look. Not as like bulky muscular wise, but the fro and just like being tall, the super tall and just like being super comfortable in the paint. Like he's got some
This
artist
is a
billboard
trimmed
to him.
fro.
Yeah.
Because it was like last year or year before, he really grew that thing out.
Yes. Yes, he really did. But gosh, just like for him, just to kind of have this innate ability. And you mentioned how well he plays against the Jokic's, the Davises, the Embiids, the Adebayos. All those dudes respect the hell out of him too, and you can see it when they play the Cavs. And I think that's where he's kind of arrived. And Embiid's probably going to be voted to the All-Star game just because he's Embiid, even though he's played 6 games or something like that. But Porzingis is probably going to get voted even though he's played nothing. But really, I mean, I have a hard time besides Giannis, and that's kind of depends because the way they do the voting. I have a hard time picking really 4 or 5 guys over him to be in that spot. And especially games like last night show you why.
I forget how the
3 front
NBA
court,
does
2 back court. They don't do guard, forward, center. So
just the how weighted the voting is, because I know they do fan voting and then they do league voting. I forget how weighted each one of those pieces.
Well, Kenny's going to be the coach because it goes to the best record in the conference.
Right.
So if he has a say, you have to imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine he's like, I just want my guys, all of
them. give me my 4, and you guys can pick the other 11, and we'll roll. Well, I guess, is he going to coach now because of the new stupid rules? God, I hate the All-Star game format now, but.
Yeah, isn't it like tournament style?
Mm-hmm.
But still East versus West.
And G League star team, and it's so stupid. I hate it so much. Yeah, you still vote East versus West though.
But I thought it was a player vote, not a coach vote.
So
I thought the players of the league voted.
I think you're right. Yeah, but I have to imagine they're watching Jarrett Allen and going like, "All right, cool. Yeah, that guy needs to be there."
Yeah,
because really the other best center in the East has been like Vucevic, and like his team's not good enough.
I mean, they got a couple guys down in Orlando that could fill. Kind of that front court.
I agree, but they're also hurt.
Yeah, half of them are hurt. That's true.
Yes. Yeah. But for him, just kind of an awesome game. Really took over. And for the team, big picture is not only they keep winning, but this was the road trip we were kind of nervous about. This was the marathon, and they have ran through it so far. I mean, they got one more game on the West Coast in this road trip, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But they've been awesome.
Yeah, they got this game in Dallas. They get a quick breather in Charlotte, and then they take on the Thunder. And that's like the end of this gauntlet run of contending teams, playoff teams. And they've passed the test with flying colors, so that's for sure.
I cannot wait for the Thunder game. I can't.
It's gonna be so good. Isn't that one nationally? Didn't they put that one nationally broadcast?
Yeah, both Thunder games are now national broadcasts. So
good.
Love it. And I think they're a week apart, if I remember correctly. I saw the Thunder play in Cleveland a couple years ago. My
they
wife's
were like the
they were
dismembered
like
Thunder.
They were on the up and up. My wife's uncle cracked up that there was a guy on their team named Dort. Like couldn't click with him. I'm like, yeah, he's actually really, really good at basketball.
Remember Dort?
Well, he's still there, but so we're wrapping up 2024. This team is 29-4 through the season. We're 8 games away from the halfway mark. This team is continuing to get better. Those Hawks games, you really can kind of see they put them behind them, and we're able to move forward. They only have one more Hawks regular season game, thank goodness. I'm excited to see what Atkinson does after the 2 losses there, to see how he kind of makes his adjustments when they play them. And that's done in a couple weeks as well. But overall, taking out, how should they improve the roster? Should they go all in? This, and that. Just an incredibly fun team. They give you the vibe of a college team in the sense that watching how they like really enjoy each other on the bench when the Tristan Thompsons kind of being their Udonis Haslem and just kind of leading like the cheers over there. It's just such a great team. It's so fun to watch them on a day-to-day basis. It's so fun to come on here and turn mics on and talk about them every day. I couldn't be happier with how things are going.
I agree. The vibes are so high. They I really don't know if there's anything that teams can do to rattle this team. I think the chemistry and vibes just make everybody's play elevate to another level.
Yeah.
Which is not something you really see in an NBA team. I think the last time I saw something like this was the 2016 team when they really turned around J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert and Timothy Mozgov, who all then left the Cavs to basically fall out of the league.
Yeah. And, well, yeah, he signed that Lakers contract, and that was kind of. But I mean, like I've said before, the 17 team was better than the 16 team. They just had to play Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. And
yeah, you mean 4 Hall of Famers?
If that team doesn't exist, then I mean, if those guys aren't together, then we're talking about back-to-back titles. And who knows what happens? Maybe LeBron and Kyrie don't leave at that point, but that's hearsay. So Keith Smith put this tweet out, but on Blue Sky actually. I want to make sure I got it out there because it's really kind of is damning about how things are going for the Cavs and how well it is. So he said this as of an hour ago. The Cleveland Cavaliers lead the NBA in three-point shooting at 40.7% per game. They're also steadily increasing their three-point attempts per game. And Kevin and you and we've all talked about this. October, they shot 36 times a game from three. November, 38.3 times from three. December, 44.2 threes a game. Damn. And when people do this whole thing where they talk about the NBA and like, it's just too many three-point shooting, like, watch the Cavs. Because they don't just shoot threes to shoot threes. They knock those SOBs down. And that's why they're better than everybody right now.
Yeah, I mean, they knock them down, and it's not just like they're taking it up court and hucking it. They're not taking bad shots. Where I know I've constantly said this about Boston. That's all they do is take bad threes. They make a lot of them. They're a good shooting team, but they're not generating good looking threes, open looks. They really are kind of coming up the court to shoot a three.
Yeah, ask Toronto about Boston shooting threes and how much fun that is.
Lost by 54.
Yeah, literally, if the Celtics did not score at all in the first half, they would have won the game still. So
wild.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to Friday. We got a couple days off here that we can relax and enjoy our New Year. So they head to Dallas to play the old Mavs, and it's a shorthanded Mavs team in the sense that we obviously know Luka's going to be out for at least a month with his left calf strain from the Christmas Day game. Dante Exum is still coming back from his right wrist surgery, so old friend. We won't see him there. And Derek Lively did not play last night with his hip injury, and it was questionable. So generally curious if he's going to come back, because if he's not going to be back Friday, then the Cavs are going to feast in the paint. But obviously, when you talk about the Dallas Mavericks, and especially with the guys that are not playing for them, one name in particular really comes up. And it's yet another old friend conversation here, because we're going to be talking about the man known as Kyrie Irving, who did play last night and was questionable to play. I mean, no, I'm sorry, he's playing today because they played the Rockets today. Kyrie's averaging 24.6 points per game, is averaging 5 assists. He's got his turnovers down. He's an all-star this year. He's been really, really good. But right now, he's about all this team's got going for him, because not only do they have all those injuries, they have a couple players suspended. Najee Marshall's out after his fight with Yusuf Nurkic. So we're going to get a shorthanded Mavericks team on Friday.
Yeah, ESPN has the matchup predictor 75% Cavs. So they also are taking into account the shorthandedness. I'm so excited to see Kyrie again. Man, I wish his exit from Cleveland ended better. Because I think a lot of fans would. I think
all of his old teams say that same sentence.
Yeah, I think Boston said the same thing. I think Brooklyn said the same thing. I think Brooklyn wish it started better.
Yeah.
But I have nothing but love for him. He was such a fun Cav to watch. He still is so fun to watch. He's by far the best handles and finisher in the game. Still, even at 32.
Which is not really old, by the way. It's just
but in NBA standards.
Old in NBA years, yes.
Yeah. So I love Kyrie. I love to see him play. And I'm excited to see him go up against this Cavs team. And I'm excited to see how this Cavs team adjust for him just with our front or backcourt. Yeah, we played Steph, but I don't know if we've got the best of Steph in either of those. So I'm curious to see how Garland and Mitchell keep up with Kyrie as he drives to the rim and just all the handles, all the finishes, like a Mortal Kombat combo.
Yeah, that's really true. Actually, I didn't think about it that way. I'm pulling up real quick because I just kind of get a general idea of everything else going. So they're having a really good year. They're 20-13. They're just kind of running into the situations they're in. But so looking at the scores they have, so PJ Washington is played pretty well for them. Obviously, they have Klay Thompson now, so it's going to be a lot of Kyrie and Klay in that game as well. PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Spencer Dinwiddie coming off the bench, Quentin Grimes, who's been really good for them off the bench, actually. It's a deep roster, so even with all the injuries, they still have a lot of dudes. I just suspect that the healthier team is going to prevail here. So yeah, I fully am with ESPN. I fully suspect that Cleveland's going to go into Dallas and take care of business and get yet another win before they head home for the Charlotte game.
The breather Charlotte game before we get into the Thunder, who are right on the Cavs' heels for best record of the league.
Yeah, and kind of have the caveat of they lost in the NBA Cup Finals, but it doesn't count towards your regular season record. So
yeah,
there's that. But yeah, I mean, for all the teams that have had these layovers from playing in the NBA Cup, they have not had one. They've been really, really good. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a really fun game. I'm excited to get to Friday. We got a couple days we can kind of breather after a back-to-back, so that's nice. We're going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. Before we do, as always, thank you all so much for your support through the first year of 2024. We had so much fun doing the show between myself, Skylar, Kevin, all of our guests we've had come hang out. We have some more guests coming in that we're working out details with as well. So we will be keeping you posted on that. If you're just checking us out for the first time, please take a second to like us on YouTube. When we subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook, whatever app for podcasting you're using, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, we're on them all. I don't know, Stitcher's still a thing. I don't even know anymore. But please subscribe to us. If you want to leave a review, that'd be awesome. We're going to try to put another giveaway here soon in the near future, so keep an eye out for that as well. We'll keep you updated on all our socials. But on behalf of Skylar Webker and Kevin Lynch, this is Tim Daniel. Have a good one, and we'll see you Friday night.
Go Cavs.